So, Miraculous Ladybug is a show. From a concept that went through development hell to a now 6-season, 131 episode juggernaut we see today, not even including the specials and movie, has certainly grown far past the creator's expectations. The show was released by Zagtoon in 2015 and has been running ever since. Miraculous follows two main characters, Marinette Dubencheng and Adrian Agreste. These teenagers go to the same school and are mysteriously given magical jewelry that transforms them into superheroes. The characters form a unique love square since they have no idea about each other's secret identities and are all in love with each other. A great setup to a lot of interesting dynamics built in only two characters. The fandom grew quick and far, making many excited as to what would come next in the story and what would happen between them. But as each episode came, criticism started to emerge. Miraculous went from a show held up by avid viewers and praised for a unique concept to a now heavily criticized and, as some would say, stagnant. But how did we get here? How did Miraculous go from a beautiful, romantic potential to a goofy, silly kid show in the fans' perception? Hello, my name is Emma, and, well, we will be answering that today, as well as a small redesign and some suggestions that might have remedied some of these issues. And, just for funsies, for my own personal purposes, I will be taking pieces of this concept to rework into my own story idea with original characters and all. So, if you care about that, stick around. If you don't, stick around until you want to leave. I think that's enough introduction. Let's get into the nitty-gritty, shall we? Before we jump into the story, bless this mess, am I right? Let's talk about my stories, specifically my OCs. I love my little goobers, and one of the ways I keep track of them is with today's sponsor, Unveil. Unveil is a platform specifically made for creatives. They are proudly anti-AI and provide one of the most positive communities I've ever seen on the internet. With your Unveil profile, you can neatly catalog your characters with ease, adding a unique gallery to showcase them to others. Character profiles offer many ways to tell your OC's story and juicy lore. There's a trait page where you can add their birth date, strengths, sexuality, and custom prompts if there's additional info needed. Color customization on profiles for the perfect fit to their vibe, and the ability to upload your own curated Spotify playlist just for them. Unveil has also helped me come up with certain ideas or concepts for characters that I never thought of before, so it's a great tool for brainstorming. If you have multiple characters in the same story, you can even add worlds with their own lore to further organize them. Collaboration with friends can build out the world even more with their own characters. Unveil's community is so welcoming and friendly. It's a great way for artists' work to get seen when it's increasingly difficult to get traction on other social media these days. I've seen nothing but kind comments and sweet encouragement from others, and it makes me really happy. If you have characters you want to share or expand upon, click the link in my description to sign up for Unveil free today. It's a lot of fun and I'd recommend it for any artist. Thank you, Unveil, and let's get on to this video. Alright, so we are going to explain the story now for people who don't know or need a refresher. There will be spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, I guess go watch the show and come back if you want to. I don't really know how to get around that one. Miraculous, The Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir is a show I can't quite put my finger on in general. I definitely don't hate it, but I'm somewhat disappointed in its outcome over the years. But let me reel it back a bit, I'm getting way ahead of myself. As I said, this story follows Adrian Agreste and Marinette Dubencheng. They are holders of what is known as Miraculouses, which are jewelry that they can wear, and with that they have little companions as well. These companions are named Kwamis and guide them on their various problems. They are ancient beings who have been around for centuries, basically like little aliens, I guess. There's been many Miraculous holders over the years. We can see a lot of that in the Louvre the characters visit. Every Miraculous has a animal theme, so Cat Noir is obviously a black cat, as well as the Kwami to go along with it named Plag, and Ladybug is a ladybug along with the Kwami named Tiki. And there are a variety of other Miraculouses that are held by the holder named Master Fu. These Miraculouses are not really revealed until later on though. All of the Miraculouses also have a unique super ability. The Ladybug and Black Cat are yin and yang basically. The Ladybug is creation and the cat is destruction.
Ladybubs has the power to be lucky, and Cat Nerd has the power to kill anything he touches.
And in the show, they're said to be the most powerful out of any of the other Miraculouses. I'm trying to avoid my problems at the moment, but all of this information is very scattered across, I'd say, the first 3 seasons. Miraculous in the beginning was not a very linear show. A lot of the major plot explanations and origins didn't get revealed until 15 episodes in, so I'm just saying this because I'm trying to give you the information in the most streamlined way I can, and that way deviates a lot from how the show gives it to you. So along with Adrian and Marinette, we also have a lot of secondary characters in their classmates. Notable ones are Nino, Adrian's best friend, and Alia, Marinette's best friend. We also have the antagonist Chloe. She kind of just hates everyone and everything, and that's pretty much it.
Ridiculous! Utterly ridiculous!
Adrian is the son of famous fashion designer Gabriel Gruss and is a model. Gabriel is also the villain that Cat Noir and Ladybug fight off, I presume every day, named Hawkmoth. Of course, no one knows the actual truth in universe, and in season 1, it wasn't even confirmed that Gabriel was Hawkmoth, but it's pretty obvious. I knew even when it was coming out. Marinette comes from a famous bakery in Paris. They make Marinette to be average, but honestly, their bakery is the only one they discuss, so I'd imagine her family is pretty well off as well. Hawkmoth, the supervillain of the show, uses the butterfly Miraculous to feed off the citizens of Paris's negative emotions to turn them into supervillains to do his evil deeds. The show is episodic, and pretty much every episode in the first couple seasons introduced a new villain for them to fight off. The formula is a citizen gets mad, they get akumatized, they turn into a inflatable pool toy. I'm so sorry. I had to get a little jab in there. Not all of the villain designs are bad, but... And Cat Noir and Ladybug show up to save the day. Ladybug has the special move Lucky Charm, which gives her an item to solve everything. These powers can only be used once, and after they are used, they transform back really quickly. Akumatization works as a butterfly flying into an object the person has on them, and once Ladybug breaks that object and de-evilizes the butterfly, the day is saved. Ladybug shouts "Miraculous Ladybug," and everything goes back to normal. This sequence happens every episode and doesn't deviate at all until much later seasons, and only very slightly. 24 episodes every season, guys. I was going a little crazy watching all of this for this video. It's not bad. I didn't hate it. It was just so much content. Now, I want to talk about the love square a little bit. Marinette is in love with Adrian, and Adrian/Cat Noir is in love with Ladybug. Of course, this is a breeding ground of fandom activity. I'd say Miraculous is sort of similar to a show like My Little Pony, where the audience is older than what was intended. I think Miraculous is marketed towards about 8-year-olds, but when I started watching this, I was probably around 12 or 13. So nowadays, I'm not exactly sure what the majority age range is. I'm sure it varies heavily since many people have grown into adults as the show progressed, but from what I've observed, it seems to be mostly teenagers and a lot of tweens, which seems pretty on the nose. I think a lot of adults have fallen off this train over the years, so the fandom shipping between these two characters and the love square is my favorite aspect of the show. Surprise, surprise. There's so much potential mixing and matching. My personal favorite is Marinette and Cat Noir, Marichat. They're both hopelessly romantic and face rejection, so they're just so cute. But there's also Lady Noir, Ladrian, and Adrianette. Everyone in the fandom has their bias, which I find so funny because they're all the same person, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I just love how unique it is. I knew Miraculous had issues. Every show, movie, what have you has something to critique no matter how perfect it is. But I've never seen a fandom so divided about some of these things like Miraculous. I think a lot of cartoons go through hate phases where there's an influx of criticism or YouTube videos analyzing everything wrong with some show. And I've seen this with Miraculous as well. This rhetoric can never really be shaken off after the fact. Though with Miraculous, they seem to have majorly bounced back from this point, probably because of a fandom decline. At least that's my theory. When things are smaller, they tend to have less drama. I'm saying this because I'm going to talk about the things I have issues with now, and I don't want this to come off as me trying to be better than this show or that this is the way it needs to be. I'm just voicing my opinion and pointing out some of the stuff that felt misguided or questionable. And I will also be talking more about the contents of the show, of course. I just tried to give you the bare minimum info in that initial overview since I don't want to keep saying the same things over and over again going forward if I can help it. Alright, so first I want to say that if you like Miraculous exactly how it is, please, more power to you. I understand this show is for smaller children, and all of these concepts do not appeal to me all the time, but I still believe that what children are consuming can be analyzed and constructively critiqued. Some might disagree, but this show is created by adults, and I'm definitely not dogging on any child or person who enjoys this. I'm just giving my perspective on some things I feel could have been handled a bit better. I absolutely love these characters, and this show has some extremely good moments that I will try to throw in here and there. So please don't take this as me hating Miraculous because I don't. I watched too much of this to hate it. I'm gonna get a little LOL funny and poke a bit of fun, but that's just me. Don't take it too seriously. And if you don't want to hear criticism on the show, this might not be the video for you. I'm gonna do a little numbered list within this section. So let's go over number 1, pacing. So this show has spanned 9 years on and off. We've gone through strikes, hiatuses, and of course COVID. So even though the show hasn't ran for almost a decade, it's been around for almost a decade, which is insane. I'm so old. We've gotten very significant changes to Hawkmoth. Ladybug and Cat Noir are very established in France as superheroes, as if they've been around forever. Marinette schemes with her friends on how to get Adrian to fall in love with her over and over again.
Of course! He's got fencing club after school, that's why he didn't pick up. It ends in exactly 20.
A lot has happened over these vast seasons. As I've said before, every season has around 24 episodes with about a 21-minute runtime. That's a lot of content over a lot of time. However, to my knowledge, over the first 5 seasons, only 9 months have passed in the story. Marinette became Ladybug, figured out power-ups, defeated a million villains, became the Miraculous holder, flipped the love square, told Alia her secret identity, and got with Adrian in the span of 9 months.
Theo.
Precisely 286 days since Adrian came to school. That's 9 months and 12 days.
Maybe that sounds like a lot of time to you, and I think this would be more believable if it was condensed into 1 season, but because it's so drawn out, it almost feels as if the story hasn't really begun, and that could be a good thing to some people and that could be a bad thing to some people. I assumed in the beginning that this might be Simpsons logic, where the characters just don't age, but by the time I got to season 3 and Alia says this line,
until Ladybug and Cat Noir showed up a few months ago to fight Hawkmoth. Yeah!
I was a bit flabbergasted, to say the least. I knew not a lot of time had passed in universe, but I expected at least close to a year by season 3 to have passed. This was almost a slap in the face. I think this can be taken differently. I just did not expect that. The character development and story beats are scattered and very much all over the place. I know this has to do with how the show is written. I don't believe that a lot of this was planned out beforehand, and a lot gets retconned. I could find this pretty forgiving since the characters are in high school, and high school is a weird time. I knew they were young, but I don't think I realized how young they actually were. Number 2, ages. Marinette, when she gets her Miraculous, is 13 years old canonically. She celebrates her 14th birthday later on in the season, and that was another facet I was a bit shocked by. I believe Adrian is 15 and everyone else in the friend group is around the same ages. I have zero problem with younger characters. Of course, personally, it's not something I love to consume anymore. I'm an adult. I tend to look for things that I can relate to, but the way these characters are portrayed, I assume them to be at least much older teenagers.
Don't encourage him, Nadia, or the cat won't stop purring all night.
Don't listen to her. Bugaboo's just a spot jealous.
Hey, I thought we agreed on no more bugaboo calling, pussycat.
Their ages are definitely clearer as the show goes on. They do this really weird thing that's especially noticeable in later seasons, where the adults are just comically large compared to all of the teenagers. I know this is to visually show the distinction between the adults and children, but man, proportionally, they all look fine standing next to each other. But then you see Bunnick standing next to her teenage self, and it's a little crazy. There's also a very dominant romance focus, as I've explained. I don't think it's unrealistic for a 14-year-old and a 15-year-old to fall in love, of course. I think that's a normal teenage experience. But when we think of longevity and how serious the show takes the relationship at points, I do think aging them up to at least 16, 17 would have made this much more believable and consumable for people growing with the show. Marinette has so much on her shoulders, and even if being 17 is still very young, I do find it a little more believable that she would be able to handle all of this marginally better by herself. There's still a lot of immaturity with older teenagers, and even hell, your early 20s, I would know, but 14 to 17 is a big development and maturity for many, while also still being a baby, so I feel like 16, 17 would be a sweet spot for this show. I believe they used to be older when the show was going to be an anime, but they were aged down because the target demographic shifted. I think that's completely understandable, but I would either like them to act like younger teenagers / middle schoolers, and for their designs to reflect that a bit more, or have them aged up just a little bit. Number 3, romance. Everything is romantic. Romance is big in Miraculous, and it goes farther than just Adrian and Marinette. It's pretty much the catalyst to all of the plot points outside of what Hawkmoth is doing, and even his motivations are romantically charged. Look, I'm a big romance consumer. I love that shit, but I do think Marinette and Adrian suffer a bit of main character syndrome when it comes to their relationship. All of the secondary characters are way too invested in their lives and romantic feelings for each other, and if their classmates aren't focusing on Marinette's romantic interests, they are pairing up with each other, and that's about the extent we get out of them, except a couple one-off episodes here and there. Over the seasons, the side characters' development and screen time gets pushed to the wayside unless they are needed for getting Marinette and Adrian together, or being extra helping superheroes, or playing the same song over and over again. I will admit though, this song did grow on me after hearing it for the 5th time. It's kind of good. I'm not saying this is always the case, but a lot of the times it is. In the episode where Adrian and Marinette get together, the whole class literally has a party at school. I think this was just a jokey thing for the fans, but I don't know. It's a little too on the nose, no? I do enjoy all of the background characters a lot. I think they're really endearing whenever they do get time. I just wish they got more screen time over helping Marinette stalk Adrian. And I know we do get that once in a while. I just want more. One of my favorites is Rose and Julica. They are just so cute. And Rose is one of my favorite characters just because she's so genuine, and they gave her a lot of depth with her secret illness. And Julica is my favorite superhero design other than Ladybug and Cat Noir. It's really good. I think it's really strong. Alia definitely suffers the most when it comes to the main character syndrome. Her life kind of revolves around Marinette and everything she does. She's very supportive, which is nice, but I just wish we got a little more from her. We know she's strong and she speaks her mind, but we really only only see that in the context of helping Marinette in some way. Maybe Alia is a bit too supportive of Marinette since she does have some interesting tendencies. Why don't we talk about that? 4. Marinette. I know a lot of people have issues with Marinette's character. For me personally, I felt her to be pretty refreshing for the most part. She's not perfect and is very sporadic, and I think the way she crumbles after not being able to manage everything she's carrying was very well done. Some of the points about Adrien do bother me a bit. Marinette knows Adrien's schedule for the next 4 years. She has pictures of him all over her room. She is very protective over him and jealous whenever anyone gets close to him, scheming to a concerning degree to expose them.
Captivated by her, something just felt off to me, so I followed her.
What?
Not only did Ladybug save my life, we've become very close friends. She lies with every breath.
Wait, what?
Though I guess in most cases the person was evil anyway, so it was okay since they were bad, right?
I think there's someone hanging right there.
Marinette is so obsessed with Adrien that when she gets a boyfriend named Luca, she still continues her antics.
It's a good thing Adrian's found someone he can get out of the house with at last.
Hi, Adrien. It's cool you couldn't come alone. I mean, you came with someone. Hey, Kamugi, Kagami.
Nice to see you too, Marinette. Have you come to watch your boyfriend rehearse?
And Luca is so understanding to her feelings, she pretty much gets off the hook unscathed.
Luca, I don't think I can. I mean, maybe we should.
When you're ready, I'll be here, Marinette.
They were sad for about an episode and then it was done. But I also totally get it, they're young, they're confused. She's a teenage girl, there's only so much you can hate on her for. Marinette gets a lot better over time and manages her emotions more maturely, but her tendencies are never really seen as a bad thing in the show, they are more seen as a cute and quirky flaw, so I understand why people find her behavior frustrating, especially when it comes back randomly for plot reasons. Like when Adrien and her are finally together in the 6th season, I know, and we see Marinette doing the same thing she used to do, only this time ruining a girl's prosthetics over unneeded jealousy. We do see some repercussions for her actions, but still, the way Adrien just nonchalantly accepts Marinette's behavior still feels a little weird, no?
Don't turn around. There's a girl with ponytails behind you, hiding behind a plant. Could she be your girlfriend by any chance?
Yeah, that description sounds fitting.
He's talking to her, she's talking to him, which means they're talking! Could Adrien have lied to me? Do you know why your girlfriend has been following me around all morning?
Oh, don't worry about that. I think she just wants to be friends and get to know you, but it's not always that easy for her.
How unique!
That's Marinette for you.
Right.
But I'm not a Marinette hater. I think she's pretty cool, actually. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but she's okay. She's alright. I also just wanted to add in while I'm editing that she is also a cartoon character, and cartoon characters tend to be more exaggerated in what they do, and it's much more forgiving. Marinette is obsessed with her crush, so she's going to be the most obsessed with her crush. Still doesn't really make her actions less frustrating, but I thought I'd just throw that in here as well. Number 5, Miraculous Holder Marinette era. You're probably wondering, wait, Marinette and Adrien are together in season 6. That means they know each other's secret identities now.
Wrongo.
No. And this is probably the fans' main frustration with this show. The show very much tiptoes around the reveal of their identities since it's one of the biggest driving factors for audiences to keep watching. They definitely have a fear of the moonlighting curse, which refers to a drop in ratings when two characters in a show get together. And seeing how the what if episodes are handled, I get that fear. The big reason the show gives to them hiding their identities to each other is 1, so they can't get akumatized and turn on each other, giving Hawkmoth the Miraculouses, and 2, because finding out about their identities, at least in this point of time, would almost always cause the end of the world. Gabriel Grest biggest motivation is reviving his wife with the black cat and the Ladybug Miraculous, which when combined gives the wearer a wish. This wish effectively ends the world and starts anew. In the hypothetical episodes, whenever Marinette and Adrian find out about each other, they start dating, and Gabriel always somehow knows, even though he's oblivious otherwise, whatever. And yada yada. Cat Blanc, my prince, he blows up the earth because he's heartbroken about his mother. We see this play out twice, and honestly, I'm like, alright, maybe y'all aren't made for each other. You seem pretty destructive. In season 4, when Marinette has to battle evil Chloe for the 17th time, Master Fu's identity gets found out by Hawkmoth, and to safely guard the Miraculouses again, he hands the guardianship to Marinette, making her workload 10 times heavier. When Marinette becomes the guardian of the Miraculouses, my first thought, and what I thought to be the most logical, would be to rope Adrian in finally. They don't necessarily have to show each other their identities per se, but for once they'd be equals, especially since Cat Noir shares the title of the show. I could see a shared custody type situation, since there's no reason Cat Noir can't distribute the Miraculouses the same way Ladybug does. Maybe they'd split the Kwamis in half and share them? I don't know. But no. Instead, they have Marinette reveal her identity to Alia after all of the pressure of everything in her life inevitably became too much for her. I actually didn't mind this though. I was tired of seeing Marinette struggle all by herself, but this caused so many knots in the story that just wouldn't be there if Cat and Ladybug shared the responsibility. Alia's main Miraculous was the fox, and in season 2, Alia's identity is revealed as Rena Rouge to Hawkmoth. Marinette uses Rena Rouge's help a lot during this time, and because all of their identities were revealed, she's basically more of a liability than a help. Because Hawkmoth could target Alia and use her against Ladybug, she can't show herself as Rena Rouge anymore and has to disguise her disguise. Alia knows the identity of her boyfriend superhero. Alia runs a blog dedicated to Ladybug, and it's clear that the writers struggle with some of these workarounds to try and make sense of essentially the problem they created. It's just so complex for what? All Cat Noir does in this era is sulk because he doesn't know anything ever, and his partner has no choice but to lie to him all the time. And this isn't something that is seen as bad either. He just has to be loyal and deal, because if they tried to loop him in, they'd have to reveal themselves, and well, they can't have that. Hey, I love a build-up as much as the next guy, but if you're actively jumping through hoops and avoiding a satisfying story beat for your audience, it kind of gets exhausting after a while, especially when it's clear the identities of everyone else besides them can be revealed with little to no problem. You're telling me the secret identities are important, but what you're showing me doesn't match, and it's very hard to overlook in some cases. The weight of knowing someone's identities are definitely cherry-picked between characters, and while I do understand the reasons they give for Marinette and Adrian to keep their identities secret, I think they could have done a better job in making everyone's identities a little more important to keep secret as well. 6. Superheroes. When we are introduced to Master Fu, the Miraculous holder, and all of the other Miraculouses available, we get a special episode once in a while, where one of the classmates will be given a Miraculous by Ladybug to help Cat Noir and her fight off the villain of the day. So we see a lot of different superhero designs that vary heavily, but overall, I don't mind most of them. Like I said in the beginning, before Marinette was the Miraculous holder, getting introduced to a new superhero was pretty spread out and felt new and exciting each time. We kind of lost that luster after they started using additional heroes more and more. I love seeing all of them together and working as a team, but with this runtime and the amount of people present, there's just no way to focus or give a spotlight to all of these new heroes. In the 2-part season 4 episode with Chloe, I feel like we were introduced to about 4 new superheroes at one time, and it just felt like so much. It was a bit jarring compared to all of the other introductions. Sure, it's cool, but it would have been a little cooler if all of these characters were just Miraculous holders on their own and weren't given them by Ladybug, who knows their identity. Yes, every Miraculous except Cat Noir and Ladybug and Hawkmoth, I guess, are distributed and controlled by Marinette, so there's no mystique or interest to the dynamics. All the heroes have the same motivation and give back the Miraculous after the fight is done. I do get this to an extent, since having multiple heroes with secret identities would complicate this show maybe a little too much, but I would have liked to see at least 1 or 2 additional heroes that we're on the same playing field with Cat Noir and Ladybug, especially since Ladybug has all the power in the situation and Cat Noir just kind of has to, again, roll with it. Maybe there could even be a love octagon, a love circle perhaps? That's what I want. I'm just kidding. 7. Backgrounds. This is a silly, stupid one. I wanted to point it out just because it's something that I noticed more and more watching the show. Miraculous takes place in the future, and maybe Paris in the future is just very scarcely populated, but most of the characters we see are the only people that seem to be living in this city. The streets are almost always empty, and there's little to no sign of life outside of the characters we're focused on majority of the time. Besides major monuments and iconic Paris structures, there's not much character in the environment. This is not Ratatouille, y'all. Every building is this white, bare, vacant structure outside of Adrian's house and Marinette's balcony, and any character that's important for the moment. It kind of reminds me of Roblox roleplays revolving around shows. I would play My Little Pony role-playing is magic all the time as a kid, and other than the iconic places in the show, every other house was just basic. There was a very clear distinction. There's even a Miraculous roleplay, I think, on Roblox, and I think it has this exact same vibe, which is very funny to me. I think it's good for areas of importance to stand out, of course, but I think they just stand out a little too much. The funniest thing I remember was this weird shop set up an Eiffel Tower that had this scarcely populated crowd. I can't remember what they were selling, but I swear it was like seafood. Very odd. It was honestly a little creepy to me. Of course, it was used for a lucky charm, and that's why it was there, but I was a little confused by that initially. I also remember this one shot where the mayor is having a big announcement, and the whole crowd consists of just the students and characters from the school. So very interesting. Backgrounds are extremely hard. I'm not faulting anyone for that. I just wish it looked a little more lived in instead of this mostly empty place. You know what I mean? But maybe that's going a little too deep, so I apologize. 8. Thomas Astruc. I'm just throwing this guy in here at the end because I feel like you can't make a video about Miraculous Ladybug without talking about Thomas Astruc. Thomas is a writer for Miraculous, and he's a very infamous figure in this fandom. He has spent a lot of time arguing and blocking his fans on Twitter. I'm sure a lot of the comments he gets are just plain hateful and unhelpful, but people who genuinely just want to critique what's going on have been met with some hostility from him. I'll be real, I don't know that much about Thomas Astruc. Some adamantly defend him nowadays. There was a point in time where he was a punching bag, I know that, but one thing I will point out that I saw was he said something along the lines of fans only caring about shipping and the big reveal, and to that I have to say, come on, you gotta be a little more self-aware. That's 80% of the show. Most of the show revolves around some kind of romance. I don't really know what he was trying to say there, but there's also a Thomas Astruc episode. He's fully modeled. He becomes a villain, probably one of my favorite villains, and in the show he made a movie with Ladybug and Cat Noir, which uses footage from the scrapped version of the anime, rest in peace. Look, this episode isn't terrible. I just find stuff like this a little cringy, especially when there's parts of it that just felt like taking a jab at the audience, but maybe just a little bit. Don't hurt me. Alright, that was a lot. I'm so sorry for that crazy info dump and lots of thoughts. I just had to get that all out of my head. It literally spilled out of me, and I want you guys to please correct me on anything I had wrong in the comments. I'd love to hear your guys' perspectives on things. I want to discuss. Let's discuss. I've spent so much time watching this show and I haven't even finished it. I really wanted to. I just felt that I needed a break from Miraculous. This video has taken so long, and it's just because I've had to consume so much content. And that's not a bad thing. A lot of content is good, but it's a lot. I only got to about the end of season 5 and I didn't watch any of the specials or the movie. The movie really interests me. The only reason I haven't watched it is because it's a musical and people said that the songs are a little iffy. So update, I watched it and it was really good. I know it's probably because it's kind of everything I wanted this show to be. It wasn't the best movie I ever watched, but it was certainly Miraculous. I think Miraculous could be improved with just some changes, and I will list them now. Number 1. As I said before, aging up the characters would help a lot in believability and taking the show more seriously. They can still be in high school, still be teenagers, still be kids, just a little bit older. Number 2, speed up the timeline. This could either be a time skip in between seasons or just a faster pace, since it's very hard to believe all of these events happen in such a short amount of time. I would love to see this as a little more thought out and spread out. Number 3, this might be kind of controversial, and of course all of this is unrealistic and not going to happen, but let me just have my hypothetical. Most cartoons today, and especially cartoons geared towards more older people, have a continued narrative throughout all the episodes, like Arcane, Has Been Hotel, and I think Miraculous is made for a format like this. A more thought out and conclusive, continuous storyline that is limited to 8 or 10 episodes a season. I want to say though, I do understand why this is a episodic show. Miraculous came out at a time before all of this was seen as more possible and was heavily aired on TV. And when you have a cartoon that anyone can tune into at any time, you want them to be able to pick it up and watch it wherever they are. So I'm not dogging on episodic shows, I'm just pointing out that I feel like this concept is way better suited for something continuous. Number 4, I think there also needs to be less villain introduced. A couple villains going through an arc I feel is much more impactful than a villain of the day type situation. Hawkmoth can still be behind it, just with a more iconic and interesting set of villains that the audience can really latch onto potentially. 5, I think the show should allow villainous characters to be redeemed. We've seen this time and time again in the show. Every villain is just a villain and that's all they'll ever be. I do like shows like My Little Pony that delve deeper into each of the villains and give them a nice redemption arc. Everyone brings up Chloe as the most missed opportunity since she was supposed to get more of a redemption arc, but of course reverted into a meaner and dumber version of herself as the show went on, unfortunately.
Well, guess what? Adrian's moving to London. None of you will ever see him again, and you will suffer. You're ridiculous, utterly—
Be quiet, Chloe. I already know your little secret. I know because Adrian told me. I also know that he loves me, and there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing. You've lost any and all power over us. You're the one who's ridiculous, Chloe. You're ridiculous.
So I do think giving these children a second chance and bringing in another evil teenager shouldn't be that out of pocket. They literally did that. They just kept Chloe evil and to the wayside, so whatever. Number 6, I think that the show should be wrapped in 3 to 5 seasons at most, and I think Marinette and Adrian should reveal their identities to each other about midway through with a more streamlined story. This is much different than what we have now, but I feel like it could be way more impactful and conclusive. And finally, number 7, I want to see more of a small hierarchy in the secondary characters. It's clear that Alio and Nino are singled out to be more important than the rest of the school, but as time progressed, they've fallen into the background with the others. I haven't watched season 6. I don't know if this is the case anymore, but I would really like to see more storylines for these characters and how even less secondary characters, since I think the show really struggles with juggling all of them and giving them all their moment. Now I'm going to say things that I like about Miraculous, so I'm not the biggest hater ever, and I swear to God, Miraculous fans, I'm on your side. I like this show, I swear. I just want to see it to its full potential, that's all. I think the animation in the new season is extremely nice and well done and improves on a lot of things I had issues with in the past. But I still really love the unique charm of the first style of animation and the character designs with it. I think they hold up fairly well. The animation isn't always the best. People have talked about this for years, but I still really like it. I think Hawkmoth is a very compelling character, and I like how consistent he stayed while falling into madness more and more over time. He's probably the best arc on the show. The fact that Hawkmoth is Adrian's dad is really brilliant and just adds another layer of oh my god to this situation, which is so mwah. I think this episode with Marinette and Cat Noir is really cute, and I did get the feelings watching it. Kudos. Love it. I love it so much. Another thing I really like is the portrayal of same-sex relationships in the show. It's very subtle in a way that normalizes it and makes every possible relationship equal and totally a possibility, like when Alia and Zoe became Cat Noir and Ladybug. I can't remember their alternate names right now. There's these flirtatious lines between them, and there's not a second glance. It's very nice, and I like that a lot.
They were never in love or in a relationship, and neither are we.
So far, anyway.
Of course not. We just met.
I hope I redeem myself a little bit. Let's move on. Here is my small redesign. Like I said, the show is what it is. Honestly, you love it or you don't at this point. There's no changing it. But I thought I'd just give my fun little take because why not? Miraculous is interesting because I feel the outfits the characters were wearing were already a little outdated, and it's been almost 10 years. So somehow we've circled around where these outfits and accessories are trending again. But since we've gotten the new redesigned animation, they've looped themselves back around in the same situation, because most of these outfits look very 2017 to 2019 to me, and I don't think it's a bad thing, and I think some of the designs are better than others, but it's just something interesting I noticed and I wanted to point it out because I found it funny. I used to hate their outfits when I was younger, and now I'm like, they're nice, I like them, they're fine. I'm a changed woman. For Marinette, I went for the same vibe in her original design. I really love how this one turned out, and I've been trying out different ways on how to render hair, so this was very fun. I struggled with the Ladybug outfit because I actually really love Ladybug's design. I think it's simple and eye-catching. It's hard to beat, honestly. I tried to play around with some more color, trying to keep that simple vibe. I also tried to make her hairstyle a little different than how she is in her civilian wear, since Adrian has a distinction between his hair in and out of superhero form, but Marinette doesn't at all, so I wanted to play around with that a little more. Miraculous definitely succeeds in the most simplistic designs for the superheroes. I feel like maybe I'm alone on this one, but some of them go a little too far, and it just doesn't feel like Miraculous anymore. For Adrian, I changed a lot about his civilian outfit. I find his design to be pretty bland in the show. I don't love it, and it doesn't look like an outfit of the son to a fashion designer. So I tried to make Adrian look a little more like Gabriel in some ways. Maybe it's because he's forced to wear these clothes, or he just really wants to impress his father. For Cat Noir, he's pretty much exactly the same. I didn't change hardly anything. I like his design. I think they're really strong and iconic, and it felt wrong to add any additional colors or patterns. I don't know. I really like them. This was a lot of fun. I haven't drawn these characters since I was in middle school, so blast from the past. I don't have a lot of story beats to share with you like I usually do, because I already went over what I changed with this show, but there you go. Right, now we will get on to the more experimental part of this video. For all of my redesigns, I usually prioritize making something I would like to see with these characters potentially, but this tends to ruffle some feathers since I change a lot about what people like and about these shows or comics or movies or whatever I'm doing. I am slowly working on a follow-up to my Lore Olympus video since I didn't really handle that as well as I could have, and I want to do things a little differently from now on. When I first began this, I pictured an Incredibles, The Boys type vibe to a rework of Miraculous. I find those kinds of superhero stories the most interesting since they have a lot of realism added to them. I wanted there to be an adult Adrian, an adult Marinette, but it was just too different that I couldn't justify slapping Miraculous onto this since I'm not trying to do a fanfiction or an alternate universe or whatever. And honestly, the story is fine how it is. It's a goofy time, but it's a fun time. And I enjoy original characters much more long run. So I decided that instead I would take parts of this concept I really love and rework it into my own original concept just for fun and for my own self-indulgence. This part, besides watching the whole of Miraculous, was probably the most time consuming just because I really wanted an idea I could latch onto, and I think I came up with it. I first had to decide what the replacement for Miraculous would be. I wanted a similar concept but different enough that it's more original. This is harder to figure out than I anticipated since there's literally a million possibilities, but I settled on fairy tale books. Dude, I can't believe this, man. I had no idea this was a thing. So I knew Zagtoon did other things. I knew they have to have done other things, but I had no idea that they essentially monopolized this concept. They've announced several different Miraculous-esque concepts over the years to be released. None of them have been released, to my knowledge. I'm so frustrated because this concept was unveiled all the way back in 2016, so I am definitely the one who looks like I'm copying them. And I was copying them, but I didn't mean to actually, copy their fairy tale inspired superhero story too. I'm a bit confused by this concept as well because it is supposed to be the origins to Miraculous Ladybug, so I'm not entirely sure how the powers correlate to the characters. I know they're based off of fairy tales, but what do they have to do with the Miraculouses? I guess I'm just not that deep in the lore. If someone cares to explain, I'd love to know. I read the wiki and it said that they interact with fairy tale characters, so I'm guessing it's in a fairy tale land and the characters are given powers. So it is kind of different, but it's too similar and I'm mad! But I'm still gonna do this stinking concept because I'm stubborn and I'm gonna change it even more, so suck. Okay, don't say that. Back to the video. Fairy tales are somewhat timeless. Some have origins from ancient civilizations, and I felt there was a lot you could do with them specifically. I also just watched the Shrek trailer and rewatched all of the movies, so let's just say I was feeling very inspired. Also, I know the Shrek 5 trailer is kind of iffy, but I still have hope it will be a decent movie, please. My concept for the superheroes is a bunch of magical enchanted books that reside in a small case altogether. These books grant the holder powers associated with the contents. Each book has a companion to guide the holder, and I've decided that each holder will be known as a character. The books are about this sized. They're small, but just big enough. In order to activate the transformation seam a la Magical Girls is to touch the special symbol that are unique to each book. The powers are dependent on the wearer specifically, so whatever the wearer has in them will be brought out by the book. I don't know all the details and this isn't finalized or anything, but I do really like this concept, and this was a rare circumstance since I came up with the objects and rough magical system way before I came up with my off-brand Adrian and Marinette. So let's move on to them, shall we? I was very stumped on what to do for these designs. I tend to struggle a lot when there's a lot of possibilities and I can't land on anything. I actually used a Roblox character creator to help me out since I've actually found that method to be really helpful of recent, and it really got the years turning, so I'm happy about that. The first character I came up with was my Marinette, but she's not Marinette. Her name is Winifred White, and she is just a normal girl with a normal life. I'm not entirely sure at this moment when I want these two to get their books, but right now I'm playing with the idea of them getting them pretty early on and becoming child prodigies and then falling off a little bit afterwards, because it's just not as impressive when they've already saved the world and aren't that useful anymore as adults. I do think when they're adults they will have some kind of big threat again. I'm just not sure what yet. I don't know about villains, but I'm getting into things I don't exactly know yet. So let's talk about Winifred. I want Winifred to be a very awkward and girl failure. I feel like that term is very cringe now, but that kind of thing. A very weird girl, but unapologetically weird. She doesn't have a lot of friends and her vibes just repel people. I really love her design a lot, but she just came out younger looking than I intended. I was trying to do more stylization and break out of my same faces a little more, but it kind of backfired because she looks way younger than I wanted. I swear she's in her early 20s. I'll fix it. I just can't do it right now. So if I were to go with the idea that they got their books early on, I think Winnie would have gotten hers around mid to late high school. And her superhero persona's name is Scarlet Shade. Winnie's so cute and I'm in love with her. So Scarlet Shade is the superhero to the Little Red Riding Hood enchanted book. I went back and forth on which fairy tale to do. I like the idea of a Little Red Riding Hood superhero. I think it's a very striking design, very recognizable, so I was excited. Scarlet Shade is a very mysterious figure. I think her powers are very defensive. I was playing around with the idea of her eating some kind of cookie or sweet to give her an additional ability temporarily, since grandma's cookies or whatever. I don't have all the powers worked out. If you guys have any ideas, I'd love to know. I don't design stuff like this very often, so I don't know. And I think it would be fun to hear your guys' ideas if you have any. The big mighty power I came up with for her was a full transformation into a huge white wolf. I imagine it to be graceful and really mythical, two tails and all. The big transformation kind of cuts her powers off after that. She's able to fight like that as long as she wants, but she cannot transform back into Scarlet Shade. Her only choice is to transform into a normal civilian again. Scarlet Shade is, like I said, very mysterious. She's kind of everything Winifred wishes she could be. She wants to be cool, calm, and collected. She wants to be adored and seen as really strong. She has a little bit of an ego about her. But with all the time passed, superheroes have become kind of lame and they've all become sellouts to advertising because they need money. They don't have any other work coming their way. And I think it'll take them a while in their adulthood to get back in good public perception. Winifred thought she would be a superhero forever, and now she can barely get any traction with it. So she works at a coffee stand in the mall, and since the government isn't paying her anymore for her services, she has to make public appearances for money. I just love that little realism sprinkle. Here's Scarlet. She's so cool, and I'm in love with both of them. Have I mentioned I love them? So we got our quote-unquote Marinette, now we need our Adrian dupe. And I could have done anything with this, but I decided to follow the basis pretty clearly. I think I took more inspiration from Bridget and Felix in the original Miraculous concept more than Adrian and Marinette, since his character is going to be a little more standoffish. This is Fox Preston. As you can see, I named them pretty easily this time. My subscribers will know I struggle with naming literally anything. I had a couple names socked away that I really have been excited to use. Yes, he's named after Fox Mulder. Shut up. Fox is a businessman, he's a Nepo baby, and he's recently gotten a big promotion at his dad's corporation, and he absolutely hates it. He's almost always disheveled like this, and he generally hates his life normally. He's always been susceptible to his father and what his father wants of him, so he doesn't really feel like his life is his, and it's kind of sad, but it's his reality. Fox has always been a cold man. He's relatively uninterested in most things and gets annoyed pretty easily, but he's not a monster. He's more misunderstood than anything. He has his kind moments, but you really need to get to know him in order to really let his personality shine through. Every day he comes through the mall where Winifred works, and she's been obsessed with him since high school. She had a humongous crush on him, and he found her extremely annoying, but she didn't really care and would just continue to humiliate herself. I think a lot of girls in school liked Fox, and even though he was annoyed by every girl, he was least annoyed by Winifred, but he never tell her that. Fox doesn't know Winifred is working at the mall, and when he goes to the coffee stand one day, they meet again. Not much has changed since they're both in this weird limbo, so they fall back into their old dynamic of chatty, awkward woman and quiet, reserved man. Now, let's move on to Fox's superhero form. I chose King Midas for this one since I love the idea of the golden touch. Also, the Living Tombstone song was an inspiration. I just love that line. I think that's so interesting and it has a lot of potential, so I wanted to do it. I believe the King Midas story came from Greek mythos, so it's much older than a lot of fairy tales, but it's still kind of a fairy tale in my eyes. I definitely considered it one as a kid. I don't think that's very correct, but let me know. Like Scarlet Shade, Fox is a complete 180, as Midas is this boisterous, loud, snarky, wacky guy who just wants to have a good time. Fox is an insomniac and rarely gets sleep, but as a superhero, he gets energized to his fullest, and I think this is what somewhat makes these powers a bit dangerous, since they're almost like a drug. They make you feel at your best, and you get addicted to that feeling and that power. I knew I wanted Midas to look very king-like. Of course, I think that's also interesting for a superhero. Midas has had feelings for Scarlet Shade for a long time. He's very romantic with her, and I think that Scarlet likes the attention, mostly because Winifred doesn't really get that attention often, but she acts like she doesn't like it. For Midas, I wanted to take a concept from the original story. Since he has to be washed of his golden touch in the original tale, I wanted the way that Midas gets rid of his powers to be bathing in any body of water. I don't know much of what I want to do with his powers besides the obvious golden touch. I have an idea of him having some kind of flick function where he flicks golden powder. Can you tell? I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm out of my element. Help me. I like this design. I think it needs some tweaks, but it's fine for now. I really wanted to make him very eccentric, and I feel like I could have pushed it a little more, so I think I'm gonna work on that. But it's fine for now. I can't spend any more time on this. I'm so tired. I'm so happy with this little concept forming, and I can't wait to do more with it. If you guys like it, let me know any of your ideas. I'm all ears. I love hearing your guys' feedback. Let me know which fairy tales you'd like to see in this concept. There's so many possibilities. I think Miraculous Ladybug is gonna do what Miraculous Ladybug is gonna do, and I believe that it is a fun watch, and I will forever love this concept, so I can't hate too much. If anyone's got some good Miraculous fan fiction recs, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you are a part of this fandom or if you left the fandom. This video was way longer than I anticipated. Sorry for rambling. Sorry if I bored you, but thanks for watching. If you made it this far, I love you. Please like, share, and subscribe, and as always, peace.